What's up guys, Tony here with High Tech Check, and this is my full review of the Samsung Galaxy Watch. So a couple years ago, Samsung released the Galaxy S3 Frontier, and to me, this is a direct successor to that watch. There's only a few differences between the two. Some are good, some are bad, but we'll talk about that a little later. First off, let's go ahead and talk about the specs. So this particular model is the LTE model with T-Mobile. It's 46 millimeters. It's got a 1.3 inch AMOLED screen. It's got a 472 milliamp battery, which is a bump up from the 380 in the Galaxy S3. It's got an Exynos dual core processor, bumped up to 1.15 instead of 1. It also has a bump in RAM, which is 1.5 gigs instead of 768 like its Bluetooth model. It also has 4 gigabytes of storage, but by the time you get the watch, it's mostly half used up already, so 2 gigs is not a lot, especially if you load it up with apps, watch faces, and music. It's also running Tizen 4. So Samsung played it safe again and just brought out another iteration of a watch that was pretty popular a couple years ago, which is kind of understandable. You know, some of us would like to see innovations, but you know, they did put a couple spec bumps in here that I believe are, you know, worthy of an upgrade, especially if you've had the Samsung Galaxy S3 for a couple years already. This one only comes in the brushed stainless steel and the metal bezel. The smaller 42 millimeter one comes in all black, and from what I can see, that's pretty much all it's going to be. As you can see here, I have a different band on here. I don't really particularly like the silicone band that comes with it, so I immediately put on this one. It's got a little magnet on here, and it adjusts your wrist as tight or as loose as you'd like it. There's no notches to worry about. So the other good thing is all the 22 millimeter bands that worked with your S3 now work with your Galaxy Watch as well. So I've got fairly big hands. My wrists aren't that big, and I think the watch looks the size that it should on my wrist. It's not any bigger than any of my regular watches that I wear, so I don't really worry too much about the size. I think if I were to get the 42 millimeter, it would be too small for my wrist. It's really not a big watch. Like I said, it's just the same size as my regular watches that I wear. I don't know how you guys feel, but I definitely like the two-tone color on the watch. It makes it stand out a little more, and you can kind of wear it now as a classy watch versus something sporty. As far as the size difference from the Galaxy S3, as you can see, it's just a tad bigger than the S3, and I think that's mainly because of a little bump that it has underneath the watch for the heart rate sensor. Other than that, they are pretty much exactly the same size. If you ask me, you could pretty much call this the Galaxy S4. Samsung also said that the Galaxy S3 was not rated to go swimming with, but they have said that the Galaxy Watch is rated for swimming. Although some people have definitely stated they've swam with the S3, Samsung just officially did not want to say it because I'm sure liability reasons. Another little upgrade is the 4 sensors on the bottom of the watch for your pulse versus the one that was on the Galaxy S3. That's another nice little upgrade. Now, as far as the rotating bezel goes, it's pretty much just like the Galaxy S3. The only huge difference is these little serrations in the side. They were definitely bigger and chunkier on the S3, which I kind of like. I don't like that these are so small, because it kind of doesn't grab onto your thumb as much when you rotate it, but it's not a huge deal. It's just something I wanted to point out to you guys. So that's pretty much it for the style. Let's go ahead and go over some of the functionality, and there's quite a few of them. So the first thing that I like about the new Galaxy Watch is you don't have to have a PIN set anymore if you want to use Samsung Pay to unlock your watch. You can have it set either for both Samsung Pay and to get into your watch, or you can just have it set for Samsung Pay. So every time you take off your watch and you put it back on, you don't have to put in that PIN. You can only use the PIN if you want to use the Samsung Pay, which is a nice change. Another really nice thing is you can set your own ringtones. So if you go over here to settings, let's go to sounds and vibrations. Go to ringtone. Here you can see I set my own ringtone. So if you go all the way down to the bottom, you can add from your watch. So all you have to do is send the sound that you want on your watch from your phone to your watch, and you can set it as your own ringtone, which is great. You can't set your own notifications, which kind of sucks because I like, customizations there, but somebody's working on an app that you can use to set your own notification sounds. One thing that they took away from their Galaxy Watch was the use of their MST system, and that basically allowed you to use Samsung Pay on any card reader that you could swipe your card with because it mimicked card swipe. And I believe that they took that away because they needed room for a bigger battery, which I think is more important to me. I don't know how you guys feel, but I didn't use Samsung Pay enough to mitigate, the bigger battery. So I, for one, am not too sad about it, but I'm sure a lot of people are because now you can only use NFC for Samsung Pay. Now I did use this to record my sleep one night, and I had it set to check my pulse always. So it was always on. I was asleep for like 7 hours, so it constantly checked my heart rate, and it only used 5% of my battery, which really is great because now you know that it doesn't use, over the course of 7-8 hours, it only uses about 5% of your battery if you want to use the heart rate all the time. I could never get into that deep sleep from what the watch said. I only got into light sleep, so I'm curious to see how accurate that is. Let me know if you guys use that on yours and if you've ever gotten into that deep sleep. You can also set the heart rate sensor to be frequent, never, or always, which is nice, just in case you might not ever care about what your pulse is too. Now it has a de-stressor app, which is kind of disappointing to me because really all it does is tell you if you're stressed or not based on your pulse. And if your heart's racing, obviously you're under a lot of stress. You don't need an app to tell you that. So the stress app, really is only good for maybe it shows you how, to breathe, to, de-stress a little bit. So that's, one good thing about that, but that's pretty much it. Now, as far as the workout apps go, I have cycling, the Stairmaster, and bench pressing on here. I've used the cycling one. I didn't even touch it. When I was cycling, it knew that I was cycling. The bench press doesn't work the same. The bench press works really well. You have to start it, manually. And when you do,
get into position to start workout.
It counts out your reps for you, and it also counts them on the on the app, depending on how you set up. If you want to do, 3 reps, 10 times, or 10 reps 3 times, you can set that in the app and it'll count it out for you, so you never have to worry about counting out in your head.
Set 1 has been completed. Take a break for 1 minute.
It also counts your steps. That's pretty accurate, I've come to find. It also has a lot of features in here in case you want to use the watch for health reasons. You can track how much water you drink, the calories you take, the steps that you take, the times you go upstairs. Let's see, let me show you here. Your caffeine intake. So you can do challenges with friends, your exercise, the food you intake. It's got a lot of features if you want to use this for, health reasons. I definitely recommend it for that. Now, this particular model only works with T-Mobile, so if you're thinking about using it overseas or anything like that, you'll still be able to use it with the Bluetooth feature, but as far as the LTE and cellular networks, this is locked to T-Mobile, so you need to make sure that you buy the one that you want for your own carrier. Now, I have tried a navigation app called Here We Go. I have to tell you, the navigation on here is quite frustrating. The map that works the best is the one that is used with the phone and your watch. which kind of defeats the purpose, because if you're going biking or something like that, you're not going to want to carry your phone in your pocket or in your bike. You want to just use your watch. And it was pretty frustrating. I tried to use this, like I said, the app called Here We Go. It took forever, it seemed, to even show my location. It kind of picked up the location right away, but as far as it showing on the map didn't come up for probably like 3 or 4 minutes, and it seems to need a very solid, fast connection to work properly. And when I went to go search for things, it took forever to type in the address first of all, and then it wouldn't work with my voice, and it was really frustrating. So if you're planning on using this for navigation, I'd say you could use it in a pinch, but don't plan on using this every day. I would just probably stick with your phone or something like that. Now, you can make voice recordings. There is an app that you have to go download. It's a voice recorder app, and it works really well. I used it on my Galaxy S3, and you just create a voice memo. Hey everybody, how you doing today? And that was at full volume. It's not very loud. I kind of wish the watch was a little louder, but it works in case you need to take a voice memo. Now, for those of you wondering how well Bixby works on this, I'm going to tell you right now, it works just as good as S-Voice. It really doesn't work very well, and I wouldn't recommend using it whatsoever. As you can see, it's pretty much just a rebranded S-Voice from the Galaxy S3. So you can set it to, work when you say hi Bixby, or you can shut that off and you can just like double tap the button to get it to come on. How big is the Eiffel Tower? Yeah, and that's pretty much what it says with everything you're going to ask it. You can send a text to somebody, call somebody, very basic things, but other than that, I wouldn't recommend using it at all. I actually just kind of shut it off, so the only time I access it is by pressing the double button, but it's pretty much worthless, just like the S-Voice was. So now somebody asked me if you can take calls over Wi-Fi, and the answer is no, unfortunately. The only way you can make and take calls or send SMS is if you have the LTE version, or if it's connected to your phone by Bluetooth. Those are the only two ways that you can make calls, take calls, or send them SMS. Now, unfortunately, Samsung kind of dropped the ball here, and they did not include their LTE band 71 in this watch. They did, however, include band 12 and 66. So it definitely will give you better reception than the S3, because the S3 only had 2, 4, and 5 LTE bands, I believe. So that's another reason to upgrade, especially if you don't get very good reception where you are. Now, just like the Samsung Galaxy S3, this does not have a SIM card inside. It's an eSIM, it's electronic. It's all built in, there's nothing to take out, there's no SIM to put in. All you do is call up T-Mobile and they set it up over their network. So you can view pictures just like you can on your phone if somebody sends you an MMS. I'll go ahead and show you that right now. So here you can see I did send myself a picture. I'm using Textra. There's the picture. And if you scroll down, you can use pre-made responses, or you can put in your own, your little smiley face. You can type it in, or you can just say it, which is the easiest way to send a text. So now this is connected to my phone by Bluetooth right now. I don't have it in standalone mode, which would be using the LTE, but I will show you that in just a second. So now when it's in the Bluetooth mode, everything that goes to your phone will show up on your watch as well. When it's in standalone mode and it's using its own LTE, on T-Mobile they have something called digits. And basically what that does is allows you to clone your primary number onto your watch. So you don't have to have two separate numbers. So basically you can just use it just like you do your phone. It doesn't have to be tethered to anything. All your phone calls, your text can go to your watch, and you can answer phone calls and text right from your watch without the use of your phone, which is nice because if you go biking or you go to the gym, you can just bring your watch along. You can leave your phone at home. So here I'm going to show you that right now. Like I said, I have T-Mobile, and as you can see, I'm connected to Bluetooth, connected using Bluetooth to my phone. Here's the Galaxy Wear app. So I'm going to send a text to my phone, and you'll be able to see that it goes to each one automatically. As you can see, I just got a text on my phone and it went to my watch. You can answer it right from your watch as well. And I'm using Texture, as I said before. So now I'm going to show you what happens in standalone mode when it uses its own LTE. Now, there's also a mode that you can use, say if you don't have T-Mobile in its digits. Basically what happens is your phone calls and your texts get relayed from your phone to your watch using a remote connection, but that uses up even more battery than just your phone using the LTE because it's constantly connected through the data to your phone. So if you have T-Mobile, just use the digits, and I believe AT&T has that, some sort of feature like that as well. But that's in there just in case your carrier doesn't have something like that. One thing that's very frustrating, which I hope Samsung puts in here, is a quick toggle for the Bluetooth. It's got the toggle for everything else, Wi-Fi, location, but Bluetooth. So if you want to turn off your Bluetooth, you have to go into your settings and do it manually. It's kind of annoying. So as you can see, I am off Bluetooth now and it's using its own LTE signal. So I'm going to go ahead and send that same text to my phone and I'll show you what happens. So you can see I got a notification here. It's not from Textura, it's kind of like its own messaging app, and I also received it on my phone. But it's independent. You can answer it just like you would the other one when it was connected. So now I'll make a phone call. So there's on my phone and this is on my watch. So if my phone was at home, somebody could really technically answer your phone, and you could also answer it on your watch as well. So as you can see, it's not connected to Bluetooth, it's on its own LTE. And as you can see, it stopped calling on the phone and routed directly to the watch here. So now as you can see, I sent myself a GIF, not using in Bluetooth mode, but in the standalone mode. And when it does that, it uses its own little built-in messaging. And as you can see, the GIF is moving. So you can view pictures and GIFs just like you would on your phone. Another thing I liked are these little health nudges. When I'm sitting at work and not moving my hands around much, the watch will nudge you to move around a little bit every so often, which is nice, like I said before, especially if you're using this to better your health. Now, as far as battery life goes, it's kind of a mixed bag. It all depends on what you have turned on your watch and what you're using. I also made a video that I'll put a link above on tips that you could use to increase your battery life. Now, the first day that I used this, I purely used it on LTE. I did not connect it to any Bluetooth. It was only on LTE. And from the time that I woke up at about 6 in the morning till I'd say 9 at night, I had 50% battery life left. So you can pretty much guarantee if you use this on LTE all the time that you're going to get probably about a couple days of use out of it. Now, the second day that I used this, I had it connected to Bluetooth the whole day, and it was kind of disconnected and reconnected every time that I walked away from my phone. So I would say it had some mixed usage between the Bluetooth and LTE. And about, again, from 6 o'clock till almost 8:30, I had about 60% battery life left. Like I said, mixed between LTE and Bluetooth, which really isn't too bad. Now for the third test, I connected my watch by Bluetooth, and I also turned the airplane mode on. So you can turn the airplane mode on and have it connected to either Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so it makes sure it won't connect to anything else, and that will increase your battery life even more. So when I did this, from 6 o'clock until about 5:15 in the evening, I had about 86% battery life left. Now that is amazing. Unfortunately, when it's in airplane mode, regardless if it's connected to your phone or not, you cannot make calls and you can't send texts. However, you can answer them when they come in if it's connected to your phone. So that's something to keep in mind. I think the 4 days that Samsung stated that this could be used with normal usage isn't accurate at all. I would say realistically, like I said again, depending on how you're going to use it, but the normal person would use some LTE, some Bluetooth, would most likely give you probably about 2.5 days of usage. Now the 46mm version and the 42mm version have two different batteries. The 46mm version has the biggest battery, and that's the one I would recommend for everybody to get. The 42mm version only has 270 milliamp hours, so the watch isn't going to last nearly as long as the bigger version. So if you're running really low on battery, the watch does come with a power saving feature, and the very first power saving feature pretty much turns everything on your screen to grayscale and only gives you access to phone calls and messages. The very extreme power saving mode only displays the time on your watch. It will not let you do anything else other than that. So this is pretty much what you're going to be seeing in direct sunlight. The sun right now is as bright as it's going to be. I don't have any issues seeing the watch, with my own eyes. It kind of looks a lot darker on camera than it really is in real life, but I can definitely assure you that you should not have any issues whatsoever seeing what's on your screen, because it does turn full brightness on when it's in direct sunlight. And I can tell you it is very bright and vibrant regardless of what this video shows you. Now as far as the Bluetooth distance goes, it goes quite far. If you're out in the open, like if you're in your house, there's no walls or anything between your phone and your watch, you should be able to walk around your whole house without getting disconnected. I have a 1900 square foot home, and I can pretty much go almost everywhere without being disconnected. Now if you go from one end of the house to the other in a room, it's going to get disconnected. But if you were, say, out in the open, you shouldn't have any problems, and it's going to be different for everybody. Like I said, it depends on your construction type, if it's concrete, if it's wood. So mileage may vary for everybody, but it's got great connectivity. I don't think you're gonna have to worry about being disconnected from your phone pretty much at all. So you don't really have to carry around your phone and your watch. You can put your phone down and just carry around your watch around your house. Now Samsung says that this is water resistant, not waterproof, up to 50 meters. And if you're going to swim in the ocean or some salt water or chlorinated water, they recommend that you wash it off with fresh water right after you're done getting out of that water. Now I did run into some issues when I first bought this watch that are something to watch out for. The first thing was overheating. I live in Colorado, and it's quite cool here at night. So there should be no reason why the watch would be overheating inside my house when it's probably like 65 degrees. That happened when I was making a 2-minute call and the screen was on, not on full brightness. I keep it at about 3 to 5 while I'm inside my house, and this showed up overheating warning. And then the phone's unusable until it's cooled off, which I haven't run into since then, and there also was an update for the phone, so that might have gotten fixed. Something else you need to watch out for is quality control. So the Samsung Galaxy S3 was solid. Even the buttons were really solid when you pressed it. Pretty much no matter where you pushed the button, it pushed in. On the first one that I had of these, the buttons were quite mushy, and if you hit it off to the side here, it didn't click, and you never knew if it responded or not. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. But I did go and get a new one, and it's good to say that the issue has been resolved. So just keep in mind that's something to watch out for if you do decide to get this watch. Now, as far as compatibility with the iPhone goes, it works and it doesn't. When you have it connected to Bluetooth, you receive notifications and you receive phone calls. You cannot answer them on the watch, but you can look at your notifications. Like here, I sent myself a message. You get your message, but you can't reply to it from the watch. Just like emails, you can see emails, but you cannot reply to them from the watch, which is really disappointing, but it's not really an Apple product. And I guess we're even lucky that they made it sort of compatible with iOS. So let me go ahead and show you what happens when you make a phone call. So I'm calling my phone here. You're seeing the phone call come in, and it's coming in on your watch. When you go to answer it, it tells you to check your phone. So that's kind of a downer for Apple fans that like the Samsung watch. It somewhat works and it somewhat doesn't, unfortunately. So now another thing that was quite interesting that Samsung noted on their website in small print is that to use the LTE initially on this watch, it has to be initially connected to a Samsung Galaxy device, which is kind of weird. You should be able to just buy the watch and use it without having to connect it to a Galaxy phone. But unfortunately, that's the way that they made it. So that's something also to keep in mind. If you don't have a Galaxy phone to pair this with initially, you're not going to be able to use the LTE. So my recommendation is if you have an iPhone, just get an Apple Watch or get the Bluetooth only version of the Galaxy Watch, because it's kind of a waste for you to have the LTE if you cannot use it. Now, as far as my recommendation goes, should you guys upgrade from your S3 to the Galaxy Watch? And I'm gonna say yes and no. It all really depends on the features and how long you've had your S3. If you've had your S3 for the past couple of years like I have, I would definitely tell you to upgrade to the new Galaxy Watch, mainly because the battery after 2 years is most likely degraded a little bit and the watch doesn't last as long. This has a bigger battery. That's one thing. Another thing is those LTE bands. It's got more LTE bands to give you better reception. Now, if you were a huge fan of that Samsung Pay feature, you're definitely not going to want to upgrade to this because you're going to lose that. But to me, that wasn't such a huge thing. What I did was I sold my S3 for almost $200 and bought this, so half is already paid, and that's what I would suggest that everybody else do, unless you just bought your Galaxy S3 probably a couple months ago. Then I would say go ahead and hold on to it, and you're really not missing out on much not switching to the Galaxy Watch. So that's pretty much it. If there's anything that I missed, please leave me a comment and I will definitely reply to you. I'll test out specifically something that you're looking for if I can, and I'll get back to you. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to share my videos with everybody else. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little notification bell to let you know when I put out new videos. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.